Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoy this legal education content, and today will be the day I earn that subscription. For today's story, we are dealing out of Texas, my new home state, in San Antonio, where there has been an allegation of a doctor clinic kickback scheme. Bribes, in other words. There were some bribes being exchanged for referrals. For the referrals, they would get monies for the referrals. Well, this is a problem because it creates an obvious conflict of interest. Also, it's illegal. So we're going to discuss this scheme that was in place in San Antonio. Let's get started with this. Some San Antonio doctors participated in a kickback scheme with a chain of vascular clinics, according to a whistleblower lawsuit. The Phoenix-based Modern Vascular sold small interest to investing doctors and paid them dividends or kickbacks to get them to refer patients. Yeah, so some money was changing hands between the doctors and the clinics. If the doctors would refer their patients to those particular clinics, then as investors in the clinics, they stand to gain financially. This information was apparently not being shared with the patients. So a little bit of a conflict of interest between that. Last week, the Justice Department intervened in the case by filing its own complaint that accused Modular Vascular of ripping off Medicare for more than $50 million. So yeah, we got ourselves a broad scheme, my friends. A broad scheme indeed. Some San Antonio doctors and the clinics were working together, hand in hand, mano a mano. One and the same. Where the San Antonio, how would you like to invest in our clinics? With the dividends. And the Justice Department is also like, ooh, look, shiny lawsuit. I'd like a piece of that. And suing them for $50 million for Medicare fraud. Wait a second, Medicare fraud? We've seen criminal charges about that before too. Could criminal charges be too far behind? Probably not. Let's read more. The Justice Department is suing for alleged violations of the False Claim Act, a law used to combat fraud against the federal government, and will seek triple the amount of damages. So the federal government ain't no fool. They're going to get paid, and they're going to get paid back 3x for the fraud. Plus, criminal charges are probably coming down the pipe. Modern Vascular had 16 clinics, including 2 in San Antonio. In 10 states, its website shows. Its office-based labs treat peripheral arterial disease, a narrowing of the arteries and legs that restricts blood flow. Chiropractic Yuri Gampel, Modular Vascular's founder and board chairman, exerted heavy pressure on the clinic's doctors to perform invasive procedures on as many referred patients as possible. So not only were the doctors getting kickbacks for referrals, which is a problem enough, but then, of course, they're getting a percentage, basically, of what they're referring. So then the doctors have an incentive to make it as expensive as possible, hence the fraud. Also, they're violating their duties as doctors because they are giving the treatments a patient doesn't need for the monies. He ensured the clinics treat patients according to procedures that receive the highest Medicare reimbursement without regard to medical necessity. That is what we call a fraud, my friends. Because you see, you're submitting it to Medicare and insurance for payment on the basis of medical need. But it's not medical need. It's the monies. The reimbursement rates range between $17,000 and $30,000. That's some monies. That's what we call motive. There is zero truth to any of these allegations, he told the publication. Adding that Modern Vascular is focusing on salvaging limbs that otherwise would be amputated. We do a lot of amazing work. I'm sure you do some amazing work, including amazing work that isn't required. We save limbs every day in all of our clinics. That's probably true. You probably do some legitimate things. But then again, some may be less legitimate than others. That would be the fraud. Jed Dwyer, a Miami lawyer for Modern Vascular, said in an email the company's business practices are compliant with the spirit and letter of the law. Oh, okay. The government's case is against Gamble, 15 clinics and 5 affiliated entities that he primarily owns for engaging in these illegal transactions. The Justice Department is not pursuing any claims against the doctors who allegedly refer patients to the clinics in return for payments. Yet, one adds, yet they're not pursuing them. But they're involved in a conspiracy. So, I'd be looking over my shoulder if I were the doctors. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story about the San Antonio doctors who were involved in the scheme, where they were investors in clinics who received dividends of investment for treatments based on the amount, quantity, and price of the treatments. The government, as well as a private lawsuit that preceded it, have alleged that maybe less with the medical necessity and more with the monies. The clinic says we were totes within the law. I don't know about that one. The Justice Department's after you for 3x what you got, and they don't bring these things that often. So I'd be looking over my shoulder, or your leg, or whatever limit is that you want to save. Maybe the vascular clinic can help you save what the Justice Department's after. Probably not. But until later, my friends, that brings us to the end of this story.